All right, good evening. Thank you everybody for joining us. Tonight's topic is sleep and hormones. So we're excited for this one and we're gonna get right started right away. About who I am, my name is Ashlie. I'm the CEO and founder of Aeryon Wellness Nutraceuticals. I'm a holistic nutritionist and a trainer and a CBT practitioner. Top 100 health and wellness influencer, #1 book on Amazon called Bulimia to Balance, which chronicles my health journey. I'm a wellness expert and I've been in this industry for 20 years, in the supplement industry for 20 years. And it was about 10 years ago, I had a personal health crisis. And at that point, I'd also written my book, Bulimia to Balance. And then I really decided to start my company based on the fact I not only wanted to have great supplements, but I really wanted to support women on their journey to finding sustainable health and wellness. And we do this with our products and our QR codes. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. But my mission is really to empower women with holistic health, which is why Sarah and I align so well. And so now I'm going to let Sarah kind of talk about all the wonderfulness that she is.
This is about me. I am the CEO of Embodied Wellness Co., and our company's mission is to make women healthy again. So we specialize in helping women who have hormone and digestive issues and just overall health and wellness. I have lots of certifications in the field, and really, as we started our company, wanting to teach and empower women to be able to learn about how to take care of their body. And growing up, I saw that there was just such a lack of education for women on how to support themselves. And the more that I did school and sat in clinic with clients, recognized, how important it really is to teach, because a lot of the times women are having these issues due to the fact they really have no clue how to support their body, and they're being dismissed in the medical system and told they're fine. And so I think we've really come far away from understanding what it is to be healthy and how to take care of ourselves as a female, which is why we work so well together. And I'm so happy to educate and to talk about this stuff.
So, and that's another reason why we align too, is these are the pillars of my company, Aeryon Wellness, but they also are very similar to the pillars and beliefs that you have with Embodied Co. So we really believe that to have true holistic wellness, it really stems from the thoughts you think, the friends you keep, your daily movement, nutrition, and supplementation. I often say you can take as much ashwagandha, you can take a ton of ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen to help manage stress. But if you're in a fear-based negative state of mind constantly, you're still going to be stressed. So we really have to look at that aspect of our lives as well when we're dealing with any of our health and wellness, and also just our viewpoint in life, right? Our mindset and looking at life.
So this is what we're going to go through today. As it is on sleep and hormones, there's lots of hormones in the body that can influence sleep, but we're really going to talk about some of the heavy hitters and the ones that we often see with women specifically. So we'll get into circadian rhythms, which includes melatonin and cortisol. We'll also talk a little bit about blood sugar under that category. We'll talk about sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone, as well as our thyroid health and hormones.
So circadian rhythm. So circadian rhythm is what influences your sleep and your wake cycles. It also can influence your mental changes, your behavior, and your digestion. And there's two main hormones that are involved in this, and they're melatonin and cortisol. So melatonin is what helps you sleep, and cortisol is what wakes you up and gets you going, and also helps with stress as well. It gets you in that fight or flight mode if you did have a really stressful situation.
And just going back to the graph on the previous slide, something that's really important to look at when we're talking about circadian rhythms is the ebb and flow of hormones. So as you'll see, when melatonin starts to decline, that's when you see cortisol at its highest. And when cortisol starts to go low, that's when melatonin starts to spike. So really important when we're talking about circadian rhythm health to understand that these two work in relation to one another. So on the next slide, when we start talking about cortisol and why, when we have high cortisol, that's also going to influence your body's ability to produce melatonin. So cortisol has lots of different roles in the body. And if we really think of this on like a base level, cortisol's job is to prepare us to deal with the outside world. And we often hear about it as a stress hormone. So that's exactly what it's doing, right? When I'm under stress, or, maybe I'm being chased by a bear or attacked by a bear, my body perceives that as stress. And so cortisol's job is to start giving me resources to be able to deal with that. So it means, vasodilation, I'm going to get more blood flow. I'm going to become more alert. I'm going to become more awake. It's going to take resources away from things that are deemed as non-essential, like digestion. If I'm getting mauled by a bear, I don't need to be breaking down food. And so really its job is to give us as much energy and resources to deal with what's happening on the outside world. And so this is also really important in the morning for energy, right? when cortisol starts to increase in the morning, and it should have its natural spike, it's because we need energy to take on the day. We don't necessarily need a ton of resources to be sleeping because I'm not interacting with the outside world. And so this is understanding this is really key when we talk about cortisol, because it's not only our stress hormone, it's there to give us energy and alertness and focus. And so this should, in a healthy circadian rhythm, be highest in the morning and start to decline in the evening. However, I'm pretty good at doing my job, but if I have 300 clients, I'm no longer a good coach because I'm spread too thin. Same thing with your body pumping out cortisol, right? Your adrenals do a great job at pumping out cortisol, but if you have too much stress, your body is no longer great at doing its job because it gets tired and it gets worn out. And so when we have adrenal-based issues due to too much stress, whether that's, external stressors, psychological stressors, nutrient deficiencies, maybe you have underlying health conditions that are causing your body stress, this puts us in a chronically elevated, stressed out state. And this is when we can start to see a lot of issues come up with sleep specifically and our circadian rhythm. So we have acute stress that influences sleep, but we also have some more of these chronic issues that can start to play a role in our sleep. If our cortisol is no longer moving through the natural ebb and flow, that's also going to influence melatonin.
So sleep and stress, it's not a good combination, as Sarah was just saying. So when you are frequently stressed out, when you're in an anxious state and overthinking in the evening, which I think a lot of us really can resonate with. I know there are moments I'll wake up at 3 a.m., my mind starts racing. I start thinking about things I need to do. And that really obviously impacts your sleep. And having high cortisol in the evening, as Sarah mentioned too, when you looked at that chart, when your cortisol is high in the evening, that's going to affect your body's ability to produce melatonin while you're sleeping. And so stress and cortisol dysregulation, when they're off balance, when you're having higher cortisol at night and you're having lower melatonin, it's going to cause your body to wake up through the night. So you're not going to get that really nice solid sleep that you really need. And waking up between 2 and 4 a.m. is usually a cortisol issue. So when I think about my stress, sometimes occasionally I will wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so also to undersleeping, we all know how crappy we feel when we don't get a good night's sleep. And that also contributes to even more stress, because then your cortisol levels are going to be higher because you didn't get a really good night's sleep. So it's really important that we pay attention to stress when we're looking at sleep and melatonin production and making sure we get those solid good night sleeps.
And so let's talk about melatonin as a hormone. So we often hear about it as our sleep hormone. Like if you ask anyone melatonin's job, they're going to say put you to sleep. But it's also important to know that it's intricately connected to your digestive health. So this works in a few ways. Melatonin is important to function in the gut, and especially when we're looking at immunity. And your gut can also help, or your microbiome, your gut bacteria can help with melatonin production. Melatonin is also an antioxidant, which means it protects us against oxidative stress. So it has lots of functions in the body. And so it's important to know, when we're talking about melatonin production, we also need to look at other things that influence it. So how are our antioxidants or our oxidative stress? How is our digestive health? Because all of these are going to also influence melatonin, and then also influence our sleep. So we won't get too much into that as we are talking about hormones, but it is always important to understand that, hormones are one piece of the pie, but usually there's all of these layers underneath them that are driving the hormone imbalances as well. So something that's really huge in suppressing melatonin production is blue light in the evening. So right now I'm sitting in front of a computer screen, and 700 years ago, we probably didn't have computers. And so we weren't like, when the sun went down, that was pretty much it for the day. We didn't have artificial lights. So when my body perceives blue light, whether that's here, whether that's my screen on my computer, whether that's my phone screen, whether that's watching TV, it signals to my body, it's time to stay awake. So that I'm impacting my body's ability to produce melatonin, because I'm signaling to my body, right now, you should be in a wakeful state. And so when we're talking about, supporting melatonin in sleep, blue light exposure is really, really important. And I would argue one of the number one things that influences melatonin or lack of melatonin in the evening. Again, gut health and melatonin are also quite connected. So poor gut health and gut-based issues can lead to a decrease in melatonin production. And then when we have less melatonin production, that can also cause gut and immune-based issues. And it really becomes this vicious cycle. So melatonin is really important. When cortisol starts to decrease in the evening, melatonin should be increasing, which signals your body to go to sleep. But as you can see, there's a few different things that might influence your body's ability to produce melatonin and therefore influence your ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. Blood sugar. All right, so one of my favorite topics to talk about. I will never get tired of talking about blood sugar. And the reason why we're putting this in the circadian rhythm support is because it can also, it goes very hand in hand with cortisol-based issues, and we'll also see some of the symptom manifestations in a similar way. So if somebody is waking up in the middle of the night, maybe multiple times a night, could be cortisol, could also be low blood sugar. So what we see a lot, especially because, lots of women are in dieting phases, or they're trying to lose weight, or they're listening to all this shit on social media, like don't eat past 7 p.m. Don't eat carbs at dinner. Carbs are for the morning. And so what happens is, our liver only stores so much glucose and glycogen. So their body's only able to hold their blood sugar stability for a certain amount of time. And when your blood sugar drops, what happens? My body says, whoa, I have low blood sugar. I better get some glucose into the bloodstream so that it can bring it up to homeostasis, because your body is always working to stay in balance. And that's anytime we fall out of balance, your body is trying to bring it back. And that's why we have a lot of these issues. So if my blood sugar drops in the evening, maybe I didn't eat enough throughout the day, didn't eat enough carbs for dinner, or maybe I had too much carbs and not enough proteins and fats, my body's going to pump out cortisol in order to move glucose from the cells into the bloodstream, as that's also one of its jobs, right? My body sees it as a stress, low blood sugar, and it wants to provide energy so that I can deal with anything that comes at me. So if it's in the middle of the night and your blood sugar drops and my body pumps out cortisol, that's also going to wake me up, right? Because cortisol doesn't just have one job. So it's going to put sugar into the bloodstream, but it's also going to wake me up. And so a lot of the time, blood sugar issues, or if somebody has type 1 diabetes, ask anyone who has a type 1 diabetic kid, they're getting alarms in the night and they have to go give them insulin, because your body is going to, again, pump out cortisol to try to bring your blood sugar back up. So this can be due to a few different reasons, maybe inadequate nutrition throughout the day, maybe, eating dinner too early for your body. Like if people have dinner at like 4 or 5 and they're going to bed at like 10 or 11, and maybe their body can't sustain them until they wake up in the morning. It could also be diabetes, insulin resistance. So keeping your blood sugar stable is really important. And then also being mindful, if you are waking up and you either feel hungry or you feel alert, trying to have a snack like 60 to 90 minutes before bed, not a huge meal, can be really helpful just to support that stability throughout the day or throughout the evening.
Some support tips that you can have is get outside. If you watch Sarah, you always see Sarah's out walking first in the morning. If you watch
I'm not in the dark, I'm not in the light, I don't give a crap.
She's outside. So get outside for the 15 minutes in the morning sunlight. And right now, obviously it is dark, so that does make it a little more challenging. It's really going to stimulate that production of cortisol. And that's, of course, as we've been talking about, it's really going to help with melatonin production. So making sure you're exposing yourself to sunlight during the day. If you see that sun breaking through the clouds, make sure you take a minute and try to take it all in. Also setting up an evening routine that involves limiting blue light. I know it's challenging. Luckily, my phone can't plug in next to my bed, so I have to plug it into the bathroom. So the only way I can touch my phone is I have to go in and get my phone and come back out, so which I don't do. So it's been actually a real kind of blessing. I think it's really helped me with my sleep, because I can sit and work and work and work. So I'll be on my phone constantly. I think a lot of us can resonate with that. So making sure we're really limiting that exposure before we go to bed, or use blue blocking glasses. These ones aren't blue blocking. I just can't seem to read as clearly as I used to.
That's called the getting old glasses.
I know, right? She's like, no. My girlfriend said to me the other day, she was like, she goes, I feel so old. I have glasses I have to use to read menus at restaurants. And I sent her a picture. I'm like, on my phone. I'm like, I have to use them when I'm on my phone now, or when I'm using my laptop. So try to go to bed and get up at the same time every day. If I go to bed at 10:15 every night, and I'm up at 5:45 and do my gym first thing in the morning. But every day, 10, 15. I've realized as I've gotten older, it's been really important to have that really, really good schedule. And then avoid caffeine after afternoon, after lunch. So if you are somebody who really struggles with sleep too, or getting to sleep, that might be something you really need to look at, is avoiding caffeine. Some people can have caffeine later in the day and they're okay, but it is really good not to have it later on in the day.
I also know for a fact that usually people who are like, oh, but I could drink coffee and go right to bed, have chronically been drinking coffee for years and decades, and their body is in such a state where it's like, it's not good. Like my mom will brag about that. She's like, I have my after dinner cup of coffee and I go right to bed. And I'm like, yeah, mom, because your adrenals are probably burnt. What is that? What is that? No, I'm joking.
It's tea.
What are you drinking?
Tea.
But I even know when my body was in a really stressed out state, like when I was teaching a lot and I was super burnt out and my adrenals were burnt out, I would take like energy drink pre-workout at 7 p.m. before teaching a fitness class and crash. Now that my body is like healthy and regulated, if I drink caffeine after like 2 p.m., that's it. So it's also understanding like if you're able to actually drink caffeine that close to bed and your body can shut off, that is not a good sign.
That's a good indication that you need to get
No.
things in order. Okay. So stress management. Are you into this one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Stress management. Okay. So stress management is a huge, huge topic. So you can refer to our previous webinars. We did an entire webinar all on stress. So I'm not going to get into it too much. So adrenal and cortisol based issues are going to be a huge block for your body to be able to deal with stress. So working on supporting your adrenal health is really important, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I will also say if we're listing off some of the symptoms like waking up in the middle of the night, or adrenal based issues could also be getting dizzy upon standing, or maybe you've been under stress for a really long amount of time. Maybe you have issues with losing weight. Maybe you have belly fat that seems to like not go away. Maybe you're feeling so tired all the time, independent of how much sleep you get, independent of how much caffeine you get. These are all adrenal based issues. Or you're having sex hormone imbalances, low sex drive. I could go on forever. One of the best things I think is to run a hormone panel such as a Dutch test. And that's just because, some of the symptoms can mimic other stuff. So I might like when I got my test done, I was like, oh, for sure I have high cortisol because I'm stressed out. My cortisol was pretty much flatlined. So if I was going to go and treat high cortisol and try to take supplements that are like cortisol lowering or cortisol calm, I'm putting myself in a worse situation than I was because my output was already so low that it's really important. Test, don't guess. And I cannot stress it enough. I say this all the time. If you're taking any supplement that's for hormones, you should be know what it's doing and that your body actually needs that. So I'm a huge test, don't guess type of gal. Journaling before bed can be really important because if you stay awake with like ruminating thoughts, like you can't shut your brain off, journaling can help to move those thoughts from your brain onto a piece of paper so you're not thinking about it. And a lot of the times, the first time that people, especially women, are with themselves is when they lie down to go to bed. They're get up, they have kids to deal with, they're getting their kids to school, they go and they drive, they're in the car, there are kids yelling at them, they go to work, they're stimulated all day, they come home to make dinner, or they don't have kids, they're just thinking all day, stimulus, Instagram. So when you lay down all of the stuff that you've been avoiding, hey, there it is. So, taking time throughout the day to like deal with your SHIT and like actually handle your crap is really important. Like take time to be alone, take time to compartmentalize a lot of your thoughts, take time to journal, take time to breathe. Like if I just tell myself I'm going to have a nighttime routine and meditate, it to me seems like another to do at the end of the evening and I never do it. So what I've started doing is taking like 2 minutes or 5 minutes throughout the day sporadically to either breathe, or I like laying on the floor in my office is now my new favorite, like legs up the wall, just laying down, like taking those little moments where it's like, oh, I can relax so that it's not like pushed to the end of your day and then you let everything else get in the way of that. I find that that's really helpful. And yeah, refer to our previous webinar for more.
Got lots of tips in there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about Restore. So we have some products that are available through Aeryon Wellness, and Restore is our stress support product. It helps with adrenal support, stress resilience, cognition, energy. If you're somebody struggling with brain fog, this is a fantastic product for you. Enhances mood and helps with hormonal harmony. I'm just going to go over some of the ingredients in this product. So we have Chinese hawthorn. Chinese hawthorn is a heart support ingredient. So we know the number one killer in women is heart disease. So really looking how we can support the heart. And also too, with this particular ingredient, Chinese hawthorn, one of the reasons we use this one is it actually has, there was a 2018 study on stress-induced depression, so we use it for that claim. We also have KSM 66 ashwagandha, which is the most world award-winning adaptogen and botanical in the world. If you go on their website, you will see Restore there. So ashwagandha is an adaptogen that helps your body manage stress effectively, and it is the root. So you really want to make sure you have KSM. It is the best. We have bacopa in there that helps the cognitive benefits to keep you clear and focused. So if you that crash, it will really help with the focus, help with brain fog. Astragalus is known as a lung tonic and immune support. As we mentioned, when you are stressed, your immune system can be compromised. Shashandra, which helps not oosts, but boosts energy and stamina and helps turn down the overproduction of cortisol. And then B5, which is known as the anti-stress vitamin. So we have a couple products here I'm going to talk about just that can help you with this. Snooze, sleep support. So it's adrenal support. This is not just a product that is created to knock you out. This was really created to look at also supporting stress while you're sleeping and also getting that in a relaxed state. If you're somebody who gets really anxious and you've written your lists and you've written your journaling and you still find you're really in your head, this product really can calm your mind chatter down. At least that's what I find for myself. So in this, we have Chinese hawthorn again, looking how we can support heart health. We have valerian in here and passion flower. Now, those two ingredients not only help with calmness and tranquility, but they're actually shown to help with night sweats. So they also really help with that. L-theanine to reduce stress. So looking at how we can reduce those cortisol levels in the body. We also have GABA in there. And then we have magnesium glycinate. So GABA also helps with healthy hormone production in the body, and magnesium glycinate helps get you in that nice calm state again. This is a 1 to 2 a day. If I wake up at 3 in the morning and I can't seem to get myself kind of back to sleep, and it happens occasionally, I'll reach over, I'll take 1 snooze or 2, go back to sleep, and I'm up at 6 in the morning with no sleep hangover. And I will say we have a bonus size starting like now. It's in production. It's going to be hitting stores. So keep your eye out for the 60 cap. And if you order off the website, you will be sent 2 bottles of 30 caps to make up for that. And last but not least, on the supplement end of things for this portion, I'm going to talk about Sleeping Beauty. So Sleeping Beauty does have melatonin in it. If you're somebody who does like melatonin, we have the melatonin free one, which was snooze. And this one has 2 milligrams of melatonin. And there's collagen support in here and immune support as well, and anti-aging, and also eye support too. So in here, we have magnesium bisglycinate, helps you get in that calm, rested state. 2 milligrams of melatonin to help you get back to support your body's ability to have more melatonin. If you find you are really having a hard time sleeping, melatonin can be a good friend for you. And we also have GABA in there too. And then for the supplement, for the collagen support side, we have Indian gooseberry and we have L-lysine. So L-lysine helps your body, the building blocks of collagen in your body. So we've given it Indian gooseberry and vitamin C to support that. So while you're sleeping, your body's going to be creating more collagen on its own. So it's not collagen per se, it's giving you the ingredients you need. Oh, sorry. I thought it was the whole thing's not on there. The ingredients you need to actually produce your own collagen. We have vitamin D in here. We also have zinc. And we've got vitamin A as well for skin. So it's a really cool product. It's warm. You make it warm like a tea, and there's 30 servings in there. So if this is something you're looking for, something to really, this one knocks me out in about 15 minutes, if I'm honest with you. So looking for something to really get you into that sleep state, this is a great product to take as well. So now the next one's yours.
All right, let's talk about estrogen and progesterone. So this becomes really, really prevalent around perimenopause and postmenopause. Reason being is our body stops producing as much estrogen. So low estrogen can cause a lot of issues related to sleep. Number one, it helps cool our body down and regulate temperature. So that's why you'll often see, hot flashes are really prevalent around menopause, which can definitely influence people's sleep. It also plays a role in the metabolism of serotonin and some other important neurotransmitters that help us to sleep at night, as well as moving magnesium, which is a really crucial mineral for sleep, into our tissues. And so when we have low levels of magnesium, this can also impact sleep as well as melatonin production. So we have lots going on here. Again, this is really prevalent around peri and postmenopause, but I'll often see this in clients who have low estrogen. Maybe they're chronically exercising, maybe they're under eating. That can cause a lot of low estrogen. And then we'll see a lot of these symptoms come up specifically around our period or on the first couple of days of your period. Now, some women also do experience, PMS-related insomnia when their bleed starts, because we also have a huge drop off of estrogen. And so this can cause these issues for people, specifically if they also have low progesterone, which we'll talk about next. So again, If this sounds like you, I think running a hormone panel is also really great. I actually am a supporter of things like synthetic or bioidentical hormones for the right person. So that can be really great for some women who are seriously struggling with insomnia related to menopausal changes. Again, it's important to work with a healthcare practitioner or a team of practitioners to identify if that's right for you. And there are lots of natural ways that we can boost our estrogen production as well. But I would say that specifically related to like sex hormones, this one is one that will definitely influence your sleep.
Definitely.
Okay, then we have progesterone. So progesterone is a great hormone. I mean, I don't like to choose favorites, but I do love Queen P. She is anti-inflammatory and she helps us to feel relaxed and calm. So typically if somebody has low progesterone and they are in their menstrual years, you'll see this manifest a lot as anxiety, mood swings, a lot of the mood related issues. And it can also have a sedative effect. So if you are on hormone replacement therapy or bioidentical hormones, they'll tell you take your progesterone pretty close to bed because otherwise you're going to be tired and sleepy, because it does play such a huge role in our sleep and our body's ability to relax. So on the flip side of that, low levels of progesterone can also lead to issues with generally relaxing. It can also increase anxiety, which again, as we talked about, that stress and anxiety can impact our sleep, and that can potentially lead to more insomnia as well. Then we have our thyroid. So this is something that's often overlooked. I think that, well, I see in my practice that, thyroid issues are very overlooked, and it can take on average, I think the stat is like 20 years for someone to get a diagnosis. So when we're looking at the progression of thyroid disease, it's usually done in a few different stages, and it's not caught or diagnosed most often, if at all, until stage 4, because it's like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. They're not even testing the right things. Don't get me started on that. And then all of a sudden the person's not fine, but the symptoms have started, 10 plus years ago, 7 years ago, 5 years ago. And so it's often very overlooked because some of the main symptoms of thyroid disease are generally feeling tired or feeling brain foggy or, difficulty losing weight, which is a lot of the time seen as, unfortunately, like the human condition nowadays. So a lot of this stuff is being dismissed. And especially in relation to sleep, it's very overlooked. It's rare that somebody would go and have like, a lot of the thyroid related sleep issues and their doctor's like, we should check your thyroid, right? So these are really important to know and to talk about. And both hypo, which is low thyroid, as well as hyper, which is fast functioning thyroid, can cause sleep issues. So when we have hyperthyroidism or like too much thyroid, this can lead to anxiety and overarousal that can disrupt sleep. So this is like a hyperstimulated state. Your body will probably sweat a lot more. You'll feel hot all the time, maybe a little bit irritable and anxious. And these can all influence our ability to fall and stay asleep. Then on the other side of that, we have hypothyroidism. And hypothyroidism's relation to sleep is really dependent on the individual. So sometimes, I will have like people with Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune low thyroid, or just low thyroid in general, and they can sleep for 12, 14, 16 hours and still feel so exhausted and fatigued all day. So really dependent on the person. In some cases, we'll also see obstructive sleep apnea and insomnia come as a result of low thyroid. So really, this would be like one symptom manifestation, but when we're looking at thyroid's relation to sleep, there would be other symptoms of either hypo or hyper that would be prevalent, not just like sleep related issues.
And so one of the things you can do when it's to hormonal imbalance, we haven't created a thyroid product yet. Sarah and I have talked about that stuff. And I think that's a hard one to do. We've talked about how difficult it really is to do like a thyroid supplement, but with Reclaim is our hormonal support product at Aeryon Wellness. And so it is a game changer to me. It's one of my favorite children. If I was to have a favorite child, Reclaim would be it. And so it really helps with estrogen and progesterone balance. It also helps with perimenopause. It's been fantastic for me for perimenopause, supports the liver. It can help with weight management. It also helps with libido. And so I'll go over some of the ingredients in this one. We have calcium diglucarate, which helps with stage 2 liver detoxification. So really looking at how we can support the liver to eliminate any excess estrogen that's in the body. We have green tea extract, which is really designed there to stabilize the blood sugar. So you don't have that blood sugar going up and down. And as Sarah and I talked about earlier, when you have those blood sugar levels going up and down, that can affect your insulin, which will affect cortisol, which all becomes this vicious cycle. Then we have broccoli sulforaphane. Broccoli sulforaphane is well known to help with It's an antioxidant, but also help with detoxification of estrogen in the body. We have DIM to balance good and bad estrogen. It helps the colorectal, uterine, and breast cancer. And then resveratrol. And resveratrol acts as a phytoestrogen and is an antioxidant as well. And then we have lion's mane. So we recently changed the formula. We used to have St. John's wort in it, and now we've made lion's mane in it. So really anybody can take this product. It helps PMS, it calms the nerves, helps with mood swings, and also reduces anxiety. So looking at how we can support the body and support our cortisol levels that way. We have curcumin that helps with inflammation and also helps boost vitamin D levels in the body. We have chaste tree to help with progesterone to get the ovulation back on track. White yam to help with libido and also help with vaginal dryness and DHEA and testosterone. And then B6 for mood and PMS. And then astragalus and zinc for immune support. So it really is a comprehensive formula, and it is a 1 a day. The new formula is a 1 a day. So I'm really proud of this formula and I absolutely love it. And it's made a really big difference for me in the sense of just my overall hormonal harmony, sleep, wellness, everything. So that is Reclaim.
So now we'll talk about a little bit more general supports. So, it's really good to like target things and be like, yeah, this for that, this for the other thing. But we also don't want to be practicing green pharmacy, which is what we talked about with the 5 pillars, where it's like one problem, take one pill. Even if it's a natural one, it's really important to look at the low hanging fruit. Like any of my clients will know that everyone goes through a foundation phase where it's like, I'm not even going to test your hormones. I'm not even going to talk to you about, hormone protocols unless we know that we're doing the basics, because if otherwise, how do we know, exactly what you need? If I test your hormones when you start working with me and where you're not eating properly or you're not managing your stress, of course they're going to be out of whack. And you might not need, all of the sometimes really expensive things that come along with the results of the test, because a lot of it can be improved at least by the general supports. And so this is usually the things where people are like, yeah. But what I see in my practice is they're often the things that are the biggest needle movers. Like I have clients who are like, I got all these issues, hormones, digestion, and we have a few simple changes to like sleep, stress, the way that they're eating, what they're eating, timing. And they're like, I can't even believe that everything went away. I'm like, yeah, power of like the stuff that we all know we should be doing, but we don't do. So general hormone and sleep supports, again, test, don't guess. Huge fan of running a comprehensive hormone panel. Dutch test is really great. You can also get, if you're in Canada, free lab work if your doctor will run it under MSP. Sometimes you do have to fight an uphill battle for that, but it can also give you some clues. You can also do saliva hormone testing would be some of the main ones there. And then getting support for working out imbalances, which would include, as I talked about, dietary changes, lifestyle and habit-based shifts, supplementation, and identifying any other influential factors in your specific case. So as I mentioned, that could be, gut-based issues that are causing your hormones to be out of whack, blood sugar issues causing your cortisol to be out of whack. So again, really looking at the whole picture. Generally speaking, for hormone supports, we want to be eating a mainly whole food diet, managing our stress well. Getting sunlight is really, really important. Staying hydrated, moving your body, keeping our blood sugar stable, cutting back on EDCs, which are endocrine disrupting chemicals. So that's things like, all of those perfumes at Sephora or Bath and Body Works candles. These all do play a role with our hormones. And then if you are seriously struggling, it's worth finding a team of practitioners or a healthcare practitioner that you vibe well with that can really help look at you as an individual and help support your body.
So with sleep hygiene, this is me, with sleep hygiene, one of the things you really want to do, we're talking about this before we came on, is to really make sure you're sleeping in a dark, cool room. For the past year or so, I've moved into a new place. And one of the biggest things, and I'm so happy I got them, was blackout blinds. So I have blackout blinds. My room is quite cool, to be really honest with you. Like even today when I opened the door to go in there to get changed, I was like, oh gosh, it's like chilly in here. I have a fan going. I have the blackout blinds and I have my heavy duvet on me. And I'm telling you, I've had the best sleeps of my life. And every now and then, maybe I'll wake up at 3 a.m., but it's very, very rare that I don't have a really good, solid 7 hours of sleep a night, sometimes 8. So looking at your evening routine, making sure that you have that time. I have an alarm on my phone at 9 o'clock and it starts like ding, 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 like it's time to wind down, Aeryon. So reminding myself to really start shutting down. So then and really actually taking time during the day to relax, as Sarah was talking about, taking those moments, if you can do so in your office and put your feet up against the wall, or taking times to breathe. So really make sure that in the evening time, you're not burdened with your mind chatter as much. Avoiding learning, like we said, to eat before bed, but don't have really super large meals before bed. Have something good. I mean, I love Greek yogurt before I go to bed. It's one of my favorites. I have a Greek yogurt with a little bit of sweet milk and natural, and I love that every night before I go to sleep. As we said here, 60 to 90 minutes before you go to bed, and dairy, there you go, protein and fats. And then using supplements if it is something that you do need. But as Sarah was saying in the slide before, I mean, I'm a big believer. I love supplements. Obviously, I have a supplement company, but I'm a really big believer in the fact that if you don't really add all of these things in, what Sarah was saying, you know, like the food, it's the movement, it's the sunlight, it's all these different things where you can hook yourself up to all the ashwagandha in the world. It's not going to make a difference if you're not really applying all these things. If you want supplements to work the way they're supposed to work, which is to supplement, then you really have to be taking these other steps as well. And last but not least, getting movement throughout the day. That is another great thing. I mean, I tend to work out first thing in the morning, otherwise I won't do it. So finding when it works for you to take that time. And also that can be kind of the moments where you really are just focusing on you. I try not to, if I'm running or if I do weights and I like punch weights and walk on the treadmill, I can't be on the phone. That's one of the reasons why I like doing that, because I can't be like this and on an elliptical. So it really gives you a chance to just kind of focus and be present with yourself.
Dietary support. All right, my favorite topic to talk about. Again, I could do a whole webinar on this, but we'll keep it short. Balancing blood sugar is one of the best things that you can do. So this means balancing your meals with protein, carbs, fat, and fiber, as well as limiting mindless snacking. Eating a mainly whole food diet, so that's foods and reducing foods that you are specifically sensitive to and highly processed foods. If you struggle with staying asleep, again, as we talked about, you can try a nighttime snack like 60 to 90 minutes before bed. And then some foods that can help with sleep and melatonin production are almonds, dairy, fatty fish, oats, goji berries, pistachios, all great to have before bed.
And so movement as well. This is one of the 5 pillars. Obviously, these are the 5 pillars we're kind of talking about. But it's also really important when it comes to sleep. And you wouldn't think that, but it really is, because their reports have actually shown that you have better sleep when you exercise. And so one of the things you can do is if you are somebody, avoid working out before bed. A lot of time that'll get your adrenaline going. If you're somebody who's really into listening to loud music and you're really killing it in the gym, it's hard to go home and all of a sudden be in that nice rested state. So you really want to try practicing winding down before you go to bed. Other thing too, getting bonus points. Sarah always gets her bonus points by walking in the morning light with the sunlight.
Bonus points are stacking up. I'm going to cash in soon.
Bonus points. And moderate to vigorous activity. So making sure that we're exercise. So that's why I always work out first thing in the morning. That's when it really works best for me, because I find that's when I can check that off my list of things to do, all the things I have to do every day. And it can also really help with your sleep quality, not only just to help you in general with life and take care of your body and take a minute to honor it. So movement is another really important thing too you can do with sleep. So now we're at the question period. If anybody has any questions, let's see if I can go into my, anybody has any questions, they can ask questions. We have a couple, I think we have a couple more slides, but if anybody has any questions, they can ask questions. Like I should have like the Jeopardy music playing here. Well, I guess we explained everything really well. Well, I'll go to the next slide, but if you have any questions, you please feel free to ask as we just keep going here. So one of the things I want to touch base on with Aeryon Wellness, every single product has a QR code, and we talked about those 5 pillars. So in these QR codes, every product has 2 meal plans. We talked about all the food you want to kind of really be paying attention to when you're looking at going to sleep and getting in that rested state. Every single product we have has dedicated meal plans, vegan and non. There's a video explaining the product. And a lot of the information that we talk about in here is also in those QR codes as well, really looking at stress and how do we alleviate stress? How do we get in that relaxed state? Looking at cortisol. And every single product is different. Reclaim looks into the 4 cycles for cycles of a woman's cycle. We have done that webinar. So if you want to watch that, hit the YouTube channel and you can watch that one too. So we have these for our customers. So you really have more support when you're able to buy the products, and also that you understand that it's not just taking, nothing's a magic pill. And that's something I really firmly believe in, which is why we really want to provide these webinars so we can really help educate you to make sustainable changes. So you can stay connected with us. Please do. Every month we do a webinar. So we'll be doing one in November and one in December. Instagram and Twitter for Aeryon Wellness is Aeryon Wellness. Facebook is Aeryon Wellness. YouTube's Aeryon Wellness. Personal Instagram, you got Sarah Collins Wellness at Sarah Collins Wellness. Well, and mine is Aeryon Bella Ashlie. Our website is aeryonwellness.com, and then a Body Wellness and Co. And I highly recommend, if you're looking at doing any testing or looking at working with a coach who is the best, I think she is the best. I highly suggest Sarah, we're like the Brady Bunch. You're like on the bottom, so it's like you're down here. But I highly suggest working with her. And so she does have the ability to run. You do all the testing, right? So you do all the testing. So you're not blindly looking for products to be taking. You can really have somebody put together a plan for you to really make the changes that you want to have in your life to have health and wellness sustainability, which is really what we want for everybody. I don't know if there's another slide after this one. Oh, no, there's not. So I'll go back to this one. So on that note, I guess we'll kind of wrap things up for tonight. We will have another webinar next month. As I mentioned, I don't think there's any questions yet. We will have another webinar next month. This webinar will also be on our YouTube channel. If you'd like to watch it again, you're more than welcome to. We have tons of videos on there as well. So also, I will say, one last thing, I'm going to have a coupon code for Aeryon Wellness. So it's going to be Aeryon Wellness 20. So that's the name with 20 at the end of it. When you go through the checkout, you'll get 20% off all Aeryon Wellness for the next 48 hours. So if you'd like to partake in any of the products we talked about or any of the products from Aeryon Wellness, by all means, please head over and you can do that. And thank you, Sarah, for being with me again.
Thank you guys for coming and watching.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for joining us. I hope you guys all have a wonderful night tonight, and take care.
Bye.